Lendon Wilson, and this is The Difference. The Difference is a show we created a few months ago to highlight area businesses and professionals and let them share their stories on how they are finding ways to make the difference and find their wins. And today I am joined, a lot of you that have seen the show before or any of our shows, you know Brian Dobbs. Brian is a great friend of mine, good mentor, good coach, and we have a lot of great conversations, and we're going to talk a little bit today. But before we do, I'm going to let Brian introduce himself and talk to you guys about who he is. Brian?
Hey, thanks, Lendon. We are great friends, and it's just a really interesting time to be able to do this and have the opportunity to share on such a unique platform. So again, thank you for letting me be on the show. I love being a part of this, Lendon. This is fantastic. I have, for those people that don't know me, I have done business coaching for going on 11 years now, public speaking for over 16 years, published my book last year, uniquely called, and just rocking and rolling. And one of the things that even this time, Lendon, you and I have talked about it quite a bit, but it has really centered me and caused me to focus even through this situation that we're going through, that, you know, after the storm passes, shoulders back, head up, we can go out and help a lot of people. So I do want to, you know, throw that encouraging word out there that we can be proactive and productive now and do that. So this is a really neat platform, neat opportunity, especially in being on this show today.
I agree. I think it's been really encouraging for me. You know, both of us talk incessantly about the need for serving others and helping others. And, you know, it's been really exciting. Unfortunately, we have a tragedy, but in the tragedy, it's been really exciting to see the people that care so much about others and really are putting others first right now and trying to help those businesses that are really struggling. You know, fortunately, you and I can, a lot of what we do can be done through social media and the internet. So anyway, guys and gals, people watching, we got some people already joining in. Thank you for doing that. Glad to have you. But today we're going to do something different. And wanted to talk a little bit about what the show is for those that don't understand it, what our purpose is, what we're trying to accomplish. So what we're going to do today is I'm actually switching seats with Brian. Brian is going to be the host and the interviewer, and he is going to try to, I guess, ask me some questions or however he wants to go about it. Hopefully he don't do the gotcha questions. I know him better than that, but anyway, he may get me here or there. But Brian, so I'm going to turn this over to you. It's all you now. You are in the driver's seat.
Fantastic. Well, guys, we're going to look at the difference from a completely different angle. We want to come in and ask Lendon, and Lendon, so interviewing you is going to be really neat and interesting because we get to hear from you. We get to hear from the inception, what birthed this program, what birthed this vision, what got you started. So I have a list of questions and I want to stay pretty much on course on that so we can get through these, because I think that they're very valuable, especially valuable to the listener now. You know, how do you get started on anything is a age-long question, but how you formatted it or formulated in your mind is really a critical area. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I want to give the listeners an opportunity to hear straight from you some different things. So let's go with this. Your history of entrepreneurship. Kind of give me a brief overview of what got you started into, you know, when you're getting, you have your paths, you have your career paths, and you have everything to choose from. What led you into this path of entrepreneurship? Basically, that history.
So that's a great question. I've been an entrepreneur just almost my whole life. My mother worked for a corporation for 19 and a half years. And during that 19 and a half years, she was a corporate nurse. And right at 19 and a half years, she got laid off. there was kind of a big layoff. There'd been quite a few people that had worked there, and that meant that it had a major effect on her retirement. And at that point in time in my life, which was my early 20s, mid 20s, it just made me realize that some people put their confidence in these big corporations because there's security there, but they have all the control. And I wanted to figure out how I could maintain more control because I saw what it did, to her emotionally. And so at that point in time, I'm like, I want to be in the driver's seat. Not a control freak. I just wanted to control my own destiny. And the fact that I was at the time in fitness, it kind of was easy to do because I was in personal training, and that led me into owning a gym. And just from there, the different business opportunities that I've had have just been, that's where my challenge lies. When I work in a corporate setting sometimes, and we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset versus the employee mindset, I sometimes just don't feel the challenge that I'm faced in solving my own problems when I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, so let's go back. You hit on a spot here that I want to really emphasize. One, you saw the fact that you wanted to be your own boss, that you would have control of certain things. You got into fitness. You started being a personal trainer. However, prior to that, and I know just from your background, but where did coaching? You were coaching football, correct?
Actually, when I moved to Dallas, I got into the fitness business and as a personal trainer, and started meeting some high school guys that were looking to get bigger, faster, and stronger. And that one meeting that I had, or one client that I had that was a teenager at the time, I met his mom and his dad, and I started training them. And they were connected to the school here locally. And it came to a point where they were looking for another coach. And so the parent talked to the head coach, got me a meeting with him. I'd never coached before, anything or anybody other than personal training. I mean, I guess you could consider that coaching. You're coaching on nutrition, you're coaching on health and fitness. But I'd played football my whole life, and felt like that I knew a little bit about it until I started coaching, and I realized I didn't know anything about football. And there, being able to convey a message to a player is a lot different than playing yourself. And one of the things that I will always believe helped me as a coach is that as a player, I had a hard time understanding what the coach was saying. I wasn't really a very cerebral player. I looked back and I'm like, wow, if I'd have known what I know now as a coach when I was playing, I could have been so much better. And I looked at some of the ways I was being coached, and it wasn't the coach's fault. It was just the fact that I couldn't grasp what they were trying to get me to do. And so remembering though that those particular things as I was coaching, I think it helped me communicate better with players and really get them to understand the depths of what I was trying to teach them.
Okay. So, and I'm going to tie all of this in because this is really interesting because I don't want to miss this, because you and I have talked about this quite a bit. It was your experience on the football field. And when we're talking about corporations, there are a lot of things that we can't control, correct? Corporate
Right.
America.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about entrepreneurship, there are certain things that we do have control over, correct?
Right. Right.
But when you're playing football, what things do you have control over?
Oh, I love that. My effort, my attitude, my desire to improve. You can't control whether you win or lose. You can control how hard you play. And there have been times where, as a coach and as a player, we didn't win, but there was still satisfaction to it. There are no moral victories. You hear that all the time, and that's true. But when you have elevated your game and when you performed at a higher level than you ever have. It's kind of like, and I'll use this as an example. When I was powerlifting, powerlifting is a unique sport. It's not like others, but it's an individual sport, and you're basically competing against yourself because you can't control what another person, how strong another person is, how much they lift, how much they, and you can control how much you lift. And so there's times in powerlifting where I didn't win, but I lifted in that particular meet more than I'd ever lifted in my life. And so you leave out of there with some sort of satisfaction, but you're still disappointed and you still have a goal because you still want to be number one. And I think that as an athlete, and I think that's the same thing as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you don't control as an entrepreneur. For instance, what we're going through right now, the current situation with what's going on in society with the COVID-19, we can't control that. But what we can control is what we're doing with this particular time and how we're preparing ourselves to come out on the other side.
Right. So look at this. You played sports. You played football. You learned to play. You were in powerlifting. And I know you just said that there are no moral victories. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with that.
Okay.
You're not going to get a trophy. You're not going to cross a finish line with a moral victory. But it is and I coach that it is a marker. It's a mental marker. Did I bench press 185 today? Was I able to bench press 225 in 2 weeks or 6 weeks? Was I able to go up? Those mental markers, I don't think should be discounted or dismissed,
right?
Because they carry a lot of weight. So go back to your mom. You saw her go through corporate America. You saw her be a result of the things that she couldn't control.
Right.
You made up in your mind that you didn't want to be that way. You were an athlete already. You already knew you had to go out there and practice, and you had to run, and you had to create better choices, better decisions, better habits in order to get the better results. And you knew that. You went into powerlifting, the same mindset. You go into being a personal trainer in the fitness world, and then you go into the coaching arena. All that background is rich, and I see that has played an integral part of who you are today. So when you put all those pieces together, we were talking about the jigsaw puzzle the other day.
Yes.
And it was really interesting, but I don't think a lot of times people, and just from my experience talking to them, necessarily tie in everything from the past to the present to understand that all of these things are working for my good. I just don't see that. And what you've done with the show through your background is basically the backdrop. What I see, Lendon, is the backdrop of who you are today, which is fantastic. All the ingredients that you've experienced in life has made you who you are. So when you went into coaching and you had to learn football from a different angle, what are the things that you taught your players what to control and what not to control?
Well, again, just basically it starts with attitude. It starts with your mindset off the field and the attitude that you carry out, because that's where you're going to experience your adversity. You don't experience adversity off the field. You'll experience in practice to a certain extent. And if you can learn to make the preparation part the most challenging part, then when it comes time for the performance or the show, it's a lot easier. And you have the strength of mind that's one thing that I love about sports, is because at any given time, something's not going to go your way. And it's like, it's the, 90% of things, or 10% of things, what happens to you, and 90% is your how you respond to it.
Right.
And for me, and for a lot of people that I know, that's what you get out of sports, is because in the middle of a game, and of course I was always involved in football, in the middle of a game, one play, you may get defeated, but it doesn't mean you're going to lose the game. It just meant you got your rear end whipped on that particular play. What did you learn from it? How did that inspire you? How do you adjust to the things that are going on mid-game, so that in the third and fourth quarter, you give yourself an opportunity to come out victorious? And business is the same way. I had a discussion the other day. It was I'm not going to mention his name, but he was actually a coach here locally in the DFW area. And actually we played against each other in college. He didn't know who I was, but I knew very well who he was because he was kind of a big deal back then in college. And we just got to talking. He's in business now. We got to talking about that and just how the things that we learn as young adults and how we can apply those to business are immeasurable.
Right. And that's excellent. So help me bridge the gap. So you went from fitness coaching, you went to football coaching, and then how did you get into the business world? Because you have such a knack for finding the practice field, whether it's on an athletic field, whether it's in a gym scenario. Now show me how you got to the business practice field.
Well, obviously being a personal trainer, I guess, was my first experience of working for myself. And I just have always been someone that studies people that are better than me. I want to imitate. I was told a long time ago, and this, to go back a little bit to college, when I went to college, my college coach actually told me that I needed to quit playing because I was never going to be an athlete. I was never going to be able to play. And I asked him if he was kicking me off the team. He said, "No, I'm not kicking you off. We need practice dummies, so you're welcome to stay." And so I decided at that point that I was going to watch the people that were the most successful, the ones that were really the stars of the team. And I was going to follow them around. And I was going to go to the cafeteria when they did. I was going to eat what they ate. I was going to go to the gym when they went to the gym. I was going to work out. And obviously we were, they were consuming much more calories, much more food. They were lifting much heavier weights, but I was just imitating them. The time, the place, and the number of reps, even though mine was insignificant to what they were doing. Eventually they noticed that I was tagging around. I was just kind of a shadow. And they invited me to be part of their group. These were the seniors. I was a freshman, a sophomore. And they started pushing me harder than I was pushing myself. I'd gotten to the point kind of where I was doing what they were doing, but I really wasn't pushing myself. I kind of had gotten on a cruise control. And so they actually started pushing me, and that's when I started to see things change. And at that point in time, it's when I started to grow as a player and become better as a player. And I started moving up the depth chart until I finally was a starter. And I've used that concept for myself because it's what I know, it's what I understand. And I've used that concept in business. And that's where I try to teach people in business. Find your competitor that you are envious of, that you wish that you were more like, or find your mentor and imitate what they do. Because if you imitate, I taught the same thing when I was personal training. If you have a particular person that you aspire to be, watch what they do, watch their eating habits, watch their workout habits. And if you imitate that, you're not going to be identical to them, but you will become much more like them. And business is, in my mind and in my opinion, is the same way. Who is out there that is a leader in our particular industry? And what can I learn from them? And what can I emulate? Because it's going to help me improve regardless of where we end up.
Right. So one thing that I want you to tell us, because you told me this story about one of the upperclassmen came to you and he was talking to you about that picture. So do
Right.
that, and then I want to segue into how you got the show, what really inspired you to do the show, what is it leading to? So we're going to get into that in the second half, but I want this picture to segue us into that.
Okay. So it was at the time that they actually had noticed that I was following them around and kind of being a shadow or whatever. And this guy was a senior, starting nose guard, and his name was John Juno. I'm going to go ahead and say his name on air. I love the guy to death. He is I give him a lot of credit for me developing. But we were having a conversation one day. We were at the cafeteria, and he said, so you got your picture made. You're actually considered being part of the team. When are you going to start contributing? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're working out every day. You're trying to improve. I see that. He goes, but it seems like that you're just satisfied telling people you're on the team. I'm just wondering, when are you going to start contributing? When are you going to be a player? When are you going to get on the field? Are you satisfied with being just recognized as a team member, or do you want to be someone that actually contributes? And I'll be honest, I had no clue really. I mean, it was just kind of going over my head. I realized he was right. I realized that this young country boy from Arkansas had walked onto this football team, and I got my picture made with him. I could always say I was part of a college football team. Goal number one, I'd hit it. But as I started to grow, I realized I can be better. I can do more than that. I can accomplish more than that. And so after I went back and really weighed those thoughts and thought about what he said, I upped my level of work and my intensity and my goals. I changed my goals at that point in time. And before long, I was a starter and I was on scholarship. And so, we've had that discussion before about people in certain industries. And that's kind of what, I'm part of the industry. I'm a professional. And, when are we going to start contributing? So that's, and that kind of leads us into where you're going now, I think.
Absolutely. So, well, let me kind of recap and tie this together here. One, you used the analogy that you don't always win every play. That doesn't mean that you lose a game. It's how you respond. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you had an opportunity to react or respond when the coach said that we need practice dummies.
Yes,
you did. You had the opportunity. You chose to respond and not to react.
Right.
You had the opportunity when this senior was talking to you about, hey, listen, you made it. Great. You got a trophy. And you pitched. That's really exciting. I mean, we didn't have trophies when I was growing up. We just had pictures. So
that's it.
Relate to that. I don't remember getting a trophy. I remember getting a picture. Now
Right.
you get a trophy, helmet, and a picture.
Right.
So
yeah. And a ring and everything else.
So you came in 5th out of 5. But anyway, we won't even get into that. So, but it was how you responded. But then it was, are you great? You got your license. You're ready to go. But now, are you going to contribute and contribute to the team? Contribute to the win column? Contribute to the practice? So all of that leads up to. And we know that you've been in business coaching. How did this? So what was a spark about this show, or what was in your heart that said, "Hey, listen, I need to get my voice out. This is going crazy, or this is going great." What was in that when you began to create the format for this show? What do you want to accomplish?
Wow. So I look at this show sometimes not as much about me as it is really about the concept of the show. And in business coaching over the years and going through the 2008 market crash, as I said earlier in the show, I love studying people and why people, some are win and some dominate, and why some just kind of get along. And when I got ready to do the show, I wanted to do the show because I had recognized so many people as winners, as people that were really exceptional. And I wanted to highlight those people too. I wanted them to share their story because we all have some incredible stories. Everybody's got a book inside of them. Brian, you wrote one. And you said this before, everybody has a book. We really do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we think that it's insignificant, but it's really not, because there's somebody out there going through some challenges that we are going through, or that we've gone through and found our way out on the other side. And so over the 20 years that I've been involved with other entrepreneurs and observing what makes some people exceptional and just incredible at what they do, and what why others kind of are languish in mediocrity. Not any fault of their own. It's just sometimes we do, and I wanted to bring that to light. I wanted, what's the difference? And that's where the name of the show came. The difference. What's the difference in this athlete that makes the Hall of Fame and this athlete that doesn't? What's the difference in this team that wins a Super Bowl and this team that doesn't? What's the difference in this business and why they are so successful, and this business is in the same industry and they work hard, but they don't find the same level of success? And I wanted to talk about those things. And I love those conversations. And I don't want to be on a radio show by myself. That's boring. And I enjoy talking to people like you and like the sponsors that we have. And so I'm sitting around one day and I'm like, wow, this could be a really cool show, and get people on there having these deep conversations and sharing what they believe has been the trigger for their personal growth and development and their professional growth and development.
And I love that, because everybody has those triggers. So I look from your background and seeing your mom being laid off and not being able, you can't control everything, but how she responded and how she was able to talk to you and be an encouragement to you. And then you having your situations in business and coaching as well as in athletics, that you responded correctly. And then to see you create the difference and to create a platform for other businesses to talk to everybody and build an audience,
right?
And explain their background. So where I see this, and I'm ecstatic, is you really have helped me as well as you help other people dive into themselves, try to connect the puzzle pieces. What were the trigger things that got you to this place? Because once you can begin to disseminate or articulate those trigger points in you, then you begin to develop additional trigger points to advance your career, but also to share with others to help them. And that's where I see this show being such a catalyst to help the entrepreneur, the corporate employee, just
right.
to go in there and take ownership. You know what? Hey, listen, you can't control everything. We realize that. But there are certain things that you can control. There are certain things that you can change and redirect, that you can get the results that you want. And that's what I love when you created this platform, is the difference. So you've talked a little bit about creating the difference. How do you see this working with, let's say with the sponsors, or with the other businesses that are just hearing and they just pass by on Facebook Live and they click in? What are certain things that you would see through this show that might help them or might translate into positive stuff for their business?
Well, first off, let's back up just a minute, and it's going to tie into what you're talking about. I don't want everybody out there to assume that everything I've ever done has been successful. I've had as many or more strikeouts as I've had home runs. And that is really another one of the inspirations, because sometimes when I was going through the struggles and the challenges and the failures, the eventual failures, I felt isolated. I felt all alone. I felt like, I can't talk to anybody about this. Everybody else is going, they're doing well. I'm struggling here. I'm embarrassed. I'm intimidated to talk about why I'm failing. And I just didn't feel like there was an outlet for me at those different times. And then when I was successful, obviously, everybody sees that. You try to hide the failures. And I realized that in some of the coaching that I've done, when I got really down and a person got comfortable trusting me and telling the story in the coaching, that, hey, wow, I wasn't the only one that was doing that. They're doing that too. And so I realized, you know what? There's no outlet for that. There's no place for some people to go and feel comfortable. Even in one-on-one coaching, sometimes you're intimidated or embarrassed to share your fears and your failures. So I thought, what if we created a show so that people could watch remotely and not have to share, but they could hear where people are struggling, just like them are struggling, and get some confidence, get some inspiration, and get the strength to fight through what they're fighting through, and maybe find some answers to that as well. And that's what I wanted to go back to your question. That's what I wanted to be able to do with sponsors, and to bring on, I want the sponsors of the show. This is kind of a unique show because each sponsor gets to be not just a guest, they're kind of like a co-host. And we're expanding our show into that. I'll talk about that later. And there's several reasons for it, but I want the people that sponsor the show not just to have their name on an ad, but to be able to share their story and be able to bring some inspiration to people out there and help. We talked about connection yesterday, to connect to different businesses and be mentors and leaders. I think that sometimes we struggle to find the leaders in our industries. They're out there, but we just may not know how to connect with them. And I hope that this show can be something that can help that occur.
Oh, absolutely. And going back into, yes, you have successes and you have victories, and you've told us that you had valleys and potholes and
Some big ones, some big ones.
You and I have shared some war stories on that. But I totally agree with you that transparency is key. To be able to say, hey, listen, you know what? This was an epic fail. And it's not being reactionary. It's being hey, listen, the reality is I just absolutely botched this one, and I just need some help. Right. And you and I have developed that relationship, which I find very important to me, very near and dear to my heart. But I think bringing in, and what I've seen with the sponsors and the guests and the people that are listening, being able to be that open book for people gives them hope, Lendon. It gives them encouragement and inspires them. Hey, listen, you don't have to be perfect to be successful, because there's nobody perfect out there. But that's a whole different show in and of itself. But you don't have to be perfect to be successful. You are going to fail. You are going to have some hard times. But the people that I have found very, very encouraging and inspiring that I've been around are the people that are transparent, but they are very self-reflective.
Yes.
And that's something that you bring out quite a bit in the show is having the ability to do a little introspection.
Yeah, I want the show to challenge your own thought process about who you are and what you're really all about. And it does that for me on a weekly basis. I mean, I sit there and, I had somebody tell me one day, well, you sure do think you know a lot about how to be successful. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm learning every day. And I learn so much from the people that I'm sitting in those shows with. And a lot of the questions I ask are questions I have. When I'm interviewing people, a lot of the questions I'm asking them is because I want the answer. I need the answer because I do want to be introspective. And I want the show to be thought-provoking. I want people I want questions to be asked. I want statements to be made that people watching and listening have to really take a moment and pause and really look at themselves and go, how am I really viewing this? How is this impacting me, or what can I do differently that maybe this is that trigger that I need to pull to get to the next level?
And so one of the things that I just want to share with you on the shows that we've done, we've done quite a few shows together, but we've had other people, we've had other sponsors in those shows, and great people, very introspective, very deep thinkers, and they've been fantastic. The cool part about that is I take notes. I'm even taking notes today, but they will come up with a completely different way to look at something, which also brings in a difference, or the difference maker. It's not just me having my own opinion. it's not just listening. You and I can talk for hours. And it's not just that. I mean, we love it. But bring 3 or 4 other people in there that we can all sit down and talk. That I am 3 to 4 or 500 times greater with other people in the room because they're challenging my way I look at things. Not in a bad, demeaning or condescending way, but they just open my eyes to say, oh, wow, I never saw it that way. I never looked at it from that angle. I played sports, but I've never coached sports. So what I knew was from the playing field.
Right.
You know, get the ball, don't get tackled. I mean, that was my job, right?
Right.
But from a coach, it's not get the ball, don't be tackled. It's a whole different game. So that perspective, that's one thing that's opened up my eyes that I love about it. So, you know, in developing the difference, you know, and I know that you've kind of changed formats and gone down this road, but kind of give us the history of the difference when, you know, first airing it, and then kind of show the progression of the shows, kind of give us a clip on what does that look like?
Well, we first started back in October of 2019, so we're really young in this. And I tell people, I am not a media professional at all. I'm learning as I go, but I think our message is good. We average about 3,500 viewers per week, which, from all accounts, from what I'm hearing, that's not bad in itself. But I do think we have a good message. I think people enjoy it. When I first started the show, I wanted to have about 3 to 4 of the sponsor people to co-host with me and have a particular topic, whether it's self-aware. As you look behind on the screen, a lot of those things that you see, vision, branding, strategic partnerships, connections, all the different things are things that make the difference. And so those are a lot of the topics that we talk about. And sometimes we start with a topic and the show just kind of takes on its own message, I guess. But I wanted to be able to bring those people on. And like you said, get different perspectives, because we can have 100 people watch. And if we have 4 to 5 people on, every one of those people is going to get something different from a different person. And that's the difference. It's not always the same person. It's good to have different perspectives. And so I wanted to be able to do that. I wanted each person to be able to have 1 or 2 shows that they were on a month, to share their stories, to share their insight, but also bring some visibility to their brand and show people that, hey, here's this person, here's this guy or this girl. They own a business. They're really good at what they do. And it's someone that you might want to consider either A, hiring or B, partnering with. So that was my goal long term. And that's been very successful. But with the changes with COVID and everybody sheltering in place, what we're going to now that I'm really excited about, we're actually going to start adding more shows, probably up to 20 to 25 per month rather than 4 per month. And rather than having multiple sponsors, it's going to be one sponsor, one co-host that they're going to be allowed to bring on their guest. Conversations are going to be the same. We're going to be talking about how to grow your business, how to survive, just different things that make the difference. Sometimes it's in your career, sometimes it's in your business, sometimes it's in your industry. You know how I feel about that. And then also in our communities, what I come to realize, a lot of these people that are really professional and do a really good job in business are also really deeply involved and deep rooted in their communities. That's one thing I learned, that a lot of people have in common. And that's really what I want to be able to do. I want to bring to light the commonalities of the people that have really hit some of the highest levels of professionalism. And when you start to study that, you see things like vision and networking and branding and community. And I had really misplaced that, the things that they volunteer or that they donate to, or how they're giving back, how they're using their business to give back. I think that's really important. And it was surprising to me how many of the successful people shared that characteristic.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at, you're looking at multiple shows in a month, am I, help me understand that. So this is what I thought I heard you say, because I just wanted to be clear to everybody that you're basically giving these sponsors an opportunity to have their own separate channel of the difference.
Correct.
Okay.
Great way to put it. Great way to put it.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not multiple shows. It's, if I came on as a sponsor with you, I would have my own channel and you would be there and I could have a guest and you would help me run that show. Correct?
Absolutely. Because a lot of people are really intimidated by doing their own show. There's a lot of value in it. Number one, we've talked about this, that this is something I'm really passionate about right now. But businesses struggle and fail, not because they have a bad product or service, but because not enough people know who they are and what they do. And there's never been a better time in the history of business to be able to get your message out. Now, that's the second part. Too many people have a sales pitch and not a message. We do business with who we know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
If all I'm trying to do is sell you, I'm not getting to know you. Probably not going to like you too much because nobody likes to be sold. And then the whole trust factor in there on selling me on something I'm not sure I want yet. So what I want to be able to do with these shows is give a platform and a voice on each separate channel so that they can talk to people about who they are, what kind of core values they have, what their message is, why they do what they do, really why they have a passion for serving the public the way that, in the manner of which they do. And by being able to do that and then bring on the people that they're the most connected to or the people they're trying to connect to and allow that person to do the same. I just think that that's, for me, and being in business as long as I have, that's my way to give back and to help and to bring people to social media. We talk about social media versus service media.
Right.
My mindset, my awareness of social media has changed so much over the past 6 months. I no longer use it for entertainment. Well, I get entertained because there's just crazy people out there. So you can't help with that. But I try to limit the distractions because my purpose on social media now is to find a way to serve businesses and individuals. And when you see it in a different perspective, you're able to get involved in it without the distraction, without the lack of purpose, I guess. And what I hope to happen is that the people that are intimidated by being on video and thinking that I just don't have enough to say, when we bring a community together on video, everybody's got something to say and we all feel comfortable.
Right. So you've created a palatable way to go get your voice out, but you also help people understand their signature message.
Yes.
And you basically, and I know this because we've talked a lot and we talk a lot. So it's all good.
A lot.
So, but we do. So, and I understand that, you're not just going to bring someone on cold turkey and let them fumble all over themselves. You have ways to help them identify their core values, their signature message. I mean, it's something that I talk about a lot in my coaching.
That's where I learned it.
Your unique stamp on life leads you into a unique selling proposition.
Yes.
Not a unique spiel. Nobody wants to hear spiel.
No, they don't.
They really don't. And it gets boring. It's like, oh my goodness, seriously. But you and I don't want to get on a rabbit trail there. I really want to focus on, you actually help people define their message, get it to a place where it is marketable, bring people in that they already know, hence their channel, that they feel comfortable with, along with you. A three-corded strand is not easily broken, is what the scripture says. Okay. Right. So when you're bringing in 2 to 3 other people that are unified, it is a lot easier to talk with a resonating message that's disseminated across the social media platform that builds the audience of people that really want to listen to what they have to say. Is that kind of?
That you hit the nail on the head. That's perfect. That was
So
perfect. A great description.
you have built out this powerful tool for people to leverage their business by sharing their voice with people that are familiar with them in their service.
Yes.
So it's a very strong, powerful tool that you've created, and I've got to commend you. And you're my friend and great friend. But just as a professional to a professional, you've done a fantastic job in creating such a wonderful service. So not only are you serving the business community, but you're teaching them, you're mentoring them, you are coaching alongside of them and walking with them. So when we talk about, I talk a lot about ministry, we talk about discipleship. Especially in the Bible, they just didn't give them a handout and say, "Hey, listen, I need you to go do this." They walked with them. Now, that's the thing that I think that we lack in our society today. That we have educators and we have teachers galore, and we have access to a lot of knowledge. What we don't have access to, Lendon, are the Lendons of the world that say, "Hey, listen, why don't you come alongside of me? I'm going to help you set up a channel. I'm going to help you discover your message. And then we're going to pull in some friends of yours to get on this channel. And I'm going to show you how to push this out to build your audience, because I want you to be able to do it on your own." That's
Absolutely.
cool.
Yes. That's my ultimate goal. I mean, I couldn't describe it any better, but my ultimate goal is to bring people on, put them in a comfortable situation, help them start building an audience, develop deeper connections with their current business relationships. And at some point in time, let them go and be independent in what they're doing. Once they have the confidence and the knowledge and the excitement about it, they see the opportunities and what this can produce for them. Let them go and start their own and be able to share that with others as well. Be able to teach others what we've passed down as well. Because one of the things that makes the difference when we talk about distinguishing characteristics or commonalities is leadership roles. There's people that are really performing, they embrace the leadership opportunity, and it makes them iconic. They're not looking to be iconic, but it makes them iconic. Right. Because they are giving. They are not. It's not just about their paycheck. It's how they're impacting their industry and the people around them. And as I said before, I see this. And so, not that I'm great at it, but I'm trying to imitate that. I'm trying to be like those people. And so if I can create this show called The Difference, and that's my opportunity to give back. That's where I want to be, that's where I want to be involved.
Absolutely. And I just see the impact, not only in my life, but I see, the other sponsors and how they've benefited and how they're being impacted, which is, a total blessing to me. And yeah. I know it's a blessing to them. So we have right about 9 minutes coming to the top of the hour. So let the listeners or explain to them how they would be a guest, a sponsor. I mean, is this open to other people? What's your plan on that? How are you getting people in, getting them onboarded, getting them started where they can eventually have a show if they want one, or just be a guest? Give me the rundown on that.
Well, if you want to be a guest or you're looking to be a sponsor and you'd like to go through kind of this mentorship program that we're doing, I'll post our email address later, but it's info@#thedifference.com. Or the easiest way to get me is just send a message on our Facebook page. I respond to those really quick. But, what does it take to be a guest? Just be somebody that wants to tell your story. Be somebody that wants to provide some leadership and share some of your struggles and some of your victories, and maybe help somebody else out there that's in the entrepreneurial world hear that story, inspire them to push harder and push through what they're doing. And as far as the sponsorships, just email me on that or send me a message. I'd be happy to talk more about that. But in a sponsorship / get co-host, we create, as you said, Brian, which is great, a channel so that you can do basically your own show. I'm there to assist you, whether it's the production part or being a co-host with you. I can help find guests for your show, which helps you expand your connections. I have about 5 people a day message me about being a guest on the show. And you know, unfortunately, I'd love to take everybody. Some people, it's some crazy ideas on why they would want to be on the show. And we want to stick with the theme. We want to stick with the theme of personal and professional development and really the perseverance that is required of being an entrepreneur or being someone in the corporate world that's working their way up the ladder. And, you know, one of the things that I've always said, that the title of the show is The Difference. And Brian, you talked about the signature message. Whatever I want everybody to know as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, the difference is you. Plain and simple, it's you. That whether you win or whether you lose, it's up to you and how you're handling your adversity, how you're working through the challenges that go along with being self-employed, independent contractor, entrepreneur, in the corporate world as an employee. The difference is you. And the things that we can do for our personal and professional development go a long way in making sure that you're going to hit your goals.
Absolutely. Lendon, this has been a really good show. I greatly appreciate you sharing your story with us and kind of giving us the backdrop, as well as some of your ups and your valleys and your challenges, because it makes it real and it keeps it real. And then also going forward, your vision on how you want this to evolve and how you want this to go, how you're helping business owners, not just giving them a place on the show, but giving them their own channel where they build their audience. There's over 7 billion people in this world, and we could use every single one of us, every single one of our platforms, and still have a lot of untouched and unreached people. I want to tell you, it's something that you created as a network. It's a community of business owners, of professionals, of people that value the personal and professional development to such an extent that we can join forces and we can go out and make a difference in our neighborhoods, our cities, our communities, our states, and our nation and around the world. The opportunity is unlimited. So I would encourage you, if you're listening today and this is your first time to The Difference, or this is your 15th time to The Difference, guys, we really appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you taking the time and listening. I would encourage you to Facebook message Lendon, get a hold of him, find out how your business can be leveraged and how you can learn your signature message and learn to be the difference. Have a channel that you are the difference in your industry. Grow your audience. Help other people as well. Because guess what? As a team, we can make a huge impact in this world that we live in today.
Absolutely. I agree. I want to help in any way that I can. That's where I find my fulfillment as far as a business owner and as a professional. I enjoy helping people do better. That's just the coach in me, I guess. So I want to thank you, Brian, for doing your part today and quizzing me on the things that sometimes are hard to talk about on your own. And I guess let me make a really quick point. Sometimes people are afraid to go on social media because they don't want it to seem like they're bragging about themselves, but they need to tell their story. And I think that's what The Difference will allow a lot of people to do. Today, I got to do that from a different perspective. And I hope that people understand what my purpose and what my intent and what the sponsor's purpose and intent is on the show, and that we're all looking for ways to help our neighbors in business do better than they've done before, by building their audience, developing their message, and then creating a platform to put it out. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Brian, thank you again for being the host. It pays really well. Checks in the mail. So thanks everybody. We had quite a few watch today. So
Yeah, we did.
thank you all. Be looking for more shows. We're going to have our sponsors, as I said, on individual shows, but that's it for today. And we will see you guys again really soon. Thanks, Brian.
Bye, guys.